probably only written about a dozen or so letters. This is probably the most sincere one I've ever written. So listen up.
Dear future wife, I pray that your patience outlives my temper. I pray that your humor tames my sarcasm. I pray that your positivity overwhelms me and that you transform my stubbornness into laughter. I pray that you understand the reason for me being blessed to put a ring on your hand contains much more wisdom than me simply becoming your man, because I was never looking for a woman to stand behind me, but rather one to push the door she stood beside me. Not only that, but one who has ambitions of her own, one who looks at me as a catalyst to help her fulfill her dreams and to look at me as an obstacle as she tries to face them alone. Which is why I hope you can trust me to be the one to console, because a relationship without communication is one that is bound to remain stagnant and grow old. And what better way to challenge each other's intellect than to increase our dialogue? Enough stimulating conversation that both our mind and souls feel that we respect each other's thoughts so much that we bounce them back and forth. You would think we were a pendulum. Never mind that. The sincerity of what I have to say cannot be fathomed into the likes of a letter. If I heard to find out that I wrote all this to her instead of God, would probably upset her. So perk up your ears and open up your hearts as I flip the script into a prayer. A prayer at best for how foolish it of a man to write a letter to a woman that he knows no address for. Better yet, the dynamics of a prayer more likely to touch home as I hope these thoughts of mine travel through your capillaries, penetrating your heart, giving you the chance to poke and prod at your own soul, to the extent that you begin to ask questions of your own. Questions about prayer. I just realized that we'll be spending the rest of our lives waking each other up for a lifetime of sunrises. Luhur, I'll call you up at work just to make sure we're praying at the same time, because I swear it makes the distance feel less than a fraction of a mile. Usher, just to give your parents peace of mind, we can pray at their house every once in a while. Maghrib at the masjid sounds delightful because that drive back with yours is my heart racing like I was standing at trial. Isha, you never looked so beautiful. After I finished praying my sinners, I turned around and fell in love again with the creases in your smile. Because at 75, I wish to say I lived in a house where voices would never raise. And every time we leave the house, we never have to remind ourselves to lower our gaze. Because each time one of us walks through the front door, we lock eyes identical to the way when we were first engaged. As I remember you getting all teary-eyed the moment your father trusted me with your life, the moment his hand in my hand began to shake. I was over brimming with joy when your mother and my mother held their first embrace. Because they say a man who treats his woman like a princess is proof that he's been raised by a queen. For all I am my mother to thank for the way I intend to treat you like royalty. Easy does it, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella and the Prince, or maybe you fooled yourself into thinking Jasmine and Aladdin. Oh no, he didn't, you think to yourself, but let me explain to you what's really happened. I'm not referring to that Disney rubbish that caused every girl to fantasize of Prince Charming that she then fell in love with. And don't be quick to point the gun at the messenger, because us guys are just as guilty of it. Painting vivid pictures of our futures with video vixens and basketball cheerleaders was never going to cut it. Society has made it okay for us to call a woman derogatory names, and they seem to love it. Interaction between the two has lost its moral compass. The devil's preparation, sending subliminal messages, you begin to sense the connotation, and before you know it, we've ended up in lustful conversation. So, as we end these relations with generic phrases, it's not you, it's my Islam, and I'm done playing these little boy games. I'm here to be a man, following the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in his holy book, the Quran. A man of manners, morals, and perfect character that's spread throughout the land. Islam, a religion capable of illuminating your entire life if you just gave it the chance. With the God most forgiving to husbands and wives alike if you just pray and lift up your hand. Because you say your parents are getting a little too cultural, a little too uptight and strict. Because by now the criteria for Mr. Right has fluctuated so much between day and night that you don't ever think the pieces of this puzzle will fit. And you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat because you're afraid you'll be married off to your long lost cousin. Or worse yet, having died living a life simply being single. And your parents would rather you shell out tens of thousands of dollars for a week-long wedding. Meanwhile, 1.3 billion people in the world are living off $1.25 confined to a life of poverty and famine. And then you have the nerve to say that you live a life of moderation. And among his signs is that he created for you wives to live out your lives until the end. Signs that are made for those who reflect in their perfect creation. A wondrous sensation if we only took the time to comprehend that they have rights upon us just as we have rights upon them. How can I speak to you before I seek your parents' permission? How is it that a man can only propose but the right to accept a decline is given to the women? And he'll know that I'll protect you because husbands are garments for you just as you are garments for them. And I know I'm not an angel, but I love you more than my favorite sin. And I know I'm not an angel, but I love you more than my favorite sin. You could marry her for her wealth, her family status, her beauty, but a true man marries her for her religion. Men of purity are for women of purity, women of purity are for men of purity. I hope you create the distinction. Double status have ceased to exist. So this directly correlates with the way that you continue living. Because Because what's a beautiful face in a dirty mirror if you can't see the reflection? How can you complain about the poor grade in your assignment if you never went through and made the corrections? What good does it do to be a student at a top university if you sleep through the lecture, check out of class into the tube is where you check in, wasting your time where you could be stacking up on your knowledge? So as we set aside these fantasies of Jasmines and Aladdins and focus on obtaining the real prize, the love of Allah in paradise where there are things that our eyes and ears can't even fathom. And future wife, know that wherever you are along your journey, know that I'm here on the sidelines cheering you on and that I'm holding a banner. And know that it reads that even though I don't know who you are, I know that Allah is on our side and He is the best of planners. Peace be upon you.